Mm.
I have always found, as you were talking about, oftentimes people look at someone successful and they say, "Well, you were really lucky." Well, you didn't see all of the hard work that it took to get to this point. I mean, people don't know. I literally worked 20 years before I had anything more than a salary, basically, for my business. Like many other businesses, I was close to bankruptcy at least twice.
Mm.
I was even calling bankruptcy lawyers, talking about what it would look like if I had to file bankruptcy. So, I mean, I went through the same kinds of challenges that any small business goes through. You know, sometimes you look at someone at where they are and you don't see where they were. We often evaluate people by their outside, but we evaluate ourselves by our inside.
Mm.
We know who we are and we
Right.
evaluate ourselves because we know ourselves, but we look at others and we evaluate them by their outside and we don't see their inside and what their struggles were and what their challenges were.
Wow. I love it.
All right, so you wanted a quote. I do have one quote. I almost never share this one, but it is probably one of my favorite quotes. And it has nothing to do with networking. We all die, let's see if I can get it right. We all die too soon or too late. And yet our life is complete at that moment with a line drawn neatly under it, ready for the summing up. We are our deeds in life and little more.
Wow.
Jean-Paul Sartre.
Wow, we are our deeds in life and a little more. And that's so just yeah, there's so many things that run through my mind and run through my heart when you say that. But when you just said, our life is complete at that moment. And the biggest thing that I think I take away from that saying is to understand that you don't want to live with any regrets or you don't want to die with any regrets, right?
Yeah.
So make your life as complete while you're here in that present moment because you can't get back the time and you don't know when the end of your time is. So every moment that you have the opportunity to really one become a part of someone else's story
Yeah.
or to allow someone to become a part of your story, which means that you have to be vulnerable to let them in your life. That's what I really take away from that. And so thank you for sharing that quote. And I'm sure someone is thinking that to themselves right now, like, how can I make the most of this? Because once that line is drawn and people then reflect back on my journey, what will the impact that I've had on them say about me?
Yeah, I mean, this whole idea of who's in your story and whose story you're in are really important to me. I think that the older you get, the more experience you have, I think you have an obligation to put back into the community. I can't tell you, I can't tell anybody else what they should do, but I feel I have an obligation to put back into the community. There are many people who have helped me throughout my life. There are many people that are in my story. I years ago came to the realization that what's more important is whose story am I in? Whose life am I making a difference in? Who have I helped in some small way? And it's what's amazing, Casanova, is sometimes just the littlest thing
Hmm.
can make a big difference in someone's life. I had a BNI director who was, for whatever reason, he was getting beat up by some people. They were really angry at him. And he was very, very frustrated. And he let go some of this frustration on Facebook. And he's like, I'm really down. I mean, all these people complaining. And so my wife told me, and she said, you might want to just say something to him. So I posted on his Facebook page. I said, hang in there, brother. I've been there. You're doing amazing work. You're changing people's lives. I see it. And don't forget, nobody's ever built a statue to a critic.
Mm.
And I said that to him, right? So about 2 weeks later, he sends me a photograph of that. He cut and pasted it, blew it up, put it in a frame, and it's hanging on his wall. And he said, thank you so much for sending that. So sometimes you have no idea. I mean, it was just an offhanded comment.
Right.
I meant it, but it was just, here's how I feel about you. And it made a big difference in his day. You don't know what difference you make in someone's day, positive or negative. And so what you want, those little things you say, put you in other people's story. And I think that's what when that line is drawn neatly under your life, you want to be in those stories in a positive way.
Yeah, and I love that, but I also love the small detail that you pointed out about your wife saying, "Hey, you should say something," because those champions that we have around us often get overlooked, right? And that is in a sense like your coach, like, "Hey, go out there and say this to him," whereas you're just thinking, I mean, I'm sorry, we've all taken our lumps, right? He'll be
Yeah.
okay. But her saying that to you, obviously, again, it's that butterfly effect,
Yep.
right? Of what you were saying. It's that little thing that sparks another little thing that then sparked that in him that I'm sure he went out and tried to impact or change someone else's life for the better that
Yeah.
day. Or he can now remember when someone else is getting beat up, what his coach, what his mentor, Dr. Misner, said to him. So I love it. And I'm hoping that people really take the time to think about that because just like you said, you never know, positive or negative, the
Negative. Yeah.
impact that you can have on someone's day, which will spiral.